4. Setting goals for success. The word responsibility is interesting because if you take it apart, it's actually the ability to respond. Dan Sullivan. According to SCORE, the nation's largest network of volunteers, expert business mentors reported that only 30% of family-owned businesses survive from the first to the second generation, and only 12% survive from the second to the third generation. Yet, 47% of owners expecting to retire in the next 5 years do not have a successor. In this chapter, we will create a family business legacy plan with a clear vision and peace of mind. To create a clear vision for the business planning and continued success of the company, the business owner must reflect on the past, look at the present, and visualize the future to create an inspiring vision for the company. This vision will be a roadmap for its management and employees to actively participate and execute the business succession plan. If you anticipate transferring your business privately to family members or employees, or if you are considering a sale on the open market, it is best to start planning for the transition sooner rather than later. Ideally, the transition should be a gradual, multi-year process due to the complexity involved in most business transition plans. For example, if you think you may be ready to exit your business in the next 3 to 5 years, now is the time to start that process. While that time frame surprises some business owners, taking a long-term approach allows for a well-thought-out transition. It takes a team of many individuals to create and achieve a shared vision, and it often starts by reviewing and analyzing key questions such as: who are we? What have we accomplished? What markets do we serve and provide value to? What are the company's strengths? What other markets can be served? Although you may have specific goals for business growth and profitability, planning for various outcomes can help you be prepared for any contingency. Cash flow planning is an important component of strategic business planning for businesses at any stage of the life cycle. Your plan should consider more than just who will assume ownership after the transition. It also needs to address how ownership will be structured. Tax implications are one factor in determining the structure of a deal. However, considerations such as long-term goals of the family, the time frame of the transfer, as well as the level of control and involvement you will maintain during and after the transfer, should all be addressed as well. Transitioning a business can result in different tax ramifications for the business and its shareholders, depending on how the deal is structured. Considering the different scenarios and how they relate to your objectives will enable you to make informed decisions. Business owners may have done extensive estate planning, identifying how personal assets should be managed in the event of business owner incapacity or death. However, many business owners fail to include their business assets in their estate plans, which can lead to time-consuming and costly estate administration. Planning for your orderly succession of business involves more than just a handoff of financial responsibility and rights. It is also an opportunity to identify and train a successor who can continue running your business in the same way you would. Knowing that plans are in place can give business owners peace of mind. As business owners approach retirement, some founder owners tend to scale down their involvement in the day-to-day operations, leading to operational and financial issues and reduce customer service satisfaction, while others maximize the opportunity for the second generation by creating and implementing a family business legacy plan. It is important to pay attention to the operational changes associated with transitioning ownership from the founder to the second generation, including formalizing equity stakes and internal processes, establishing a clear organizational structure, and improving customer service. While the traditional view of a family business is that the first-generation business founders are the entrepreneurial heroes, the second generation of family business does not have to live in the shadow of the first generation. In their book, Entrepreneurs in Every Generation, Alan R. Cohen and Paramadita Sharma specify the conditions supporting entrepreneurial and innovative behavior. The second generation plays a pivotal role in professionalizing the business and building out new initiatives, building on the legacy of the first generation to develop a great family, not just a great business. Successful second-generation leaders tend to focus more than the first generation on gathering and aligning disparate family members to create a strong family pillar alongside a well-developed enterprise pillar. The second generation is therefore crucial to pivoting the family away from a single-minded focus on business development to a broader set of initiatives where family communication, governance, and cohesion are fostered. For example, John D. Rockefeller was a titan of the Gilded Age, but his only son, John D. Rockefeller Jr., had the unenviable tasks of managing the family fortune and rehabilitating the family name after his father's reputation was in tatters, as he was accused of being a ruthless monopolist. Rockefeller Jr. mentored his 5 sons and his daughter, enhanced his family's charitable legacy, hired talented advisors to professionalize the family's investments in philanthropy, and prepared the burgeoning third generation for social and philanthropic leadership. It is often in the second generation that family councils are first considered, or at least the beginnings of more information sharing and decision-making among siblings. The need for family governance may have been only slightly understood by the wealth creator, leading to incomplete or misdirected succession planning. The main question that arises in the second generation is not how the family can create more wealth, but rather what is the purpose of the wealth. While doing research for this book, I read a Harvard Business School case study about the 1,000-year plan. This 40-generation family business legacy plan was created by 2 brothers, David, age 62, and Sammy Lee, age 55, the 4th generation of Lee Kum Kee family business, a sauces and condiments group that was a household name in Hong Kong, mainland China, and other parts of Asia. Established in 1888 and headquartered in Hong Kong, it was the largest manufacturer of oyster sauce in the world. Having recently celebrated its 130-year anniversary, the family has expanded considerably into other businesses as well as philanthropy, weathering 2 major breakups in its earlier years. I've seen family feuds from my father's generation and the generation before, which have turned rather nasty. We want to prevent that from happening again, Sammy said. In 2002, a family council which oversaw the family business, family investment, and the family office was established, and a family constitution was drawn up with the aim of building stronger family bonds. Since their father had bought out their uncle to gain full ownership, it was like the first generation of the family business, and so the 5 fourth-generation siblings, Eddie, Elizabeth, David, Charlie, and Sammy, considered themselves like the second generation. As such, they now had an opportunity to come up with a family system that was sustainable and factored in the need to adapt continuously to change and was backed by the values that the family stood for. Sammy noticed a few years back that the interests between the family members who participated in the family business had diverged more markedly from those who did not, and the 5th generation's engagement in the business was waning. Troubled that these were seeds for disunity in the future, in 2018, Sammy had the idea to create a system for the family with the next 1,000 years in mind, and it would be called the 1,000-Year Plan. The 4th generation would involve their children, the 5th generation, G5, in co-creating this system. Even though 1,000 years sounded unusually lofty, it did not strike Jamie Lee, daughter of Sammy, and Kevin Lee, son of David, as surprising. In fact, it was in line with what they always knew about the family mission, which was to help people in the community thrive as human beings by being kind, loving, healthy, and happy, by having empathy and being good to each other. The 1,000-Year Plan was created with the belief that we will work best as a cohesive family versus a single family member, Sammy explained. 1,000 years is like 40 generations. no one is going to live for 1,000 years. So it helps everyone to take a helicopter view so there is a better chance of getting consensus. As for the family legacy, Sammy said, recently I've been thinking that we should play down our legacy to make room for other people to create their own legacies. They decided they needed 2 new vision statements, one for the business and one for the family. They could boil down their corporate culture to 3 core values. Si Li Ji Ren, constant entrepreneurship, and autopilot leadership. Si Li Ji Ren in Chinese means considering the interests of all before taking any action. Constant entrepreneurship was reinforced by their investing principle. With any new initiative, you do not need 100% certainty about its success before taking the risk. 60 to 70% certainty was enough. The autopilot leadership model was based on the invisible leadership concept in the Chinese philosophy of Taoism, combined with Western management theory. Advocated employees work independently and towards the same goal, like a car or a plane in autopilot mode, without the need for a leader to have hands-on command. They therefore settled on a new vision statement for the business. Guided by the principles of Si Li Ji Ren, constant entrepreneurship, and autopilot leadership, we strive to be the most trusted enterprise for a healthier and happier world beyond 1,000 years. Sammy qualified, we realize that values can change over time, so we are open to adding new values. One of the first reconstructing moves under the new plan was to form a separate owners' council to oversee the business side and family investments, which would be independent of the family council to achieve what they called the extreme balance between the family and the business. They called this family, family first, and business, business first, which according to Sammy meant, if you go into our family lunch, you will feel like this family doesn't have a business. And when you go into our business, you will feel like this business doesn't have a family. David likened this extreme balance to a high wire act. Imagine you have the whole family, like 33 members standing on top of your shoulders, and you have to balance on a high wire with a stick and walk across the Grand Canyon. How do you do that? They wanted a system that could allow for changes, so they inserted a clause in the Constitution stipulating that the Owners' Council could change the Constitution with a 75% majority. They also changed the Constitution so that family members could no longer be managing the day-to-day operation of the business to prevent conflicts. They feared that allowing family members to join the business might leave less room for outside talent. However, it could also trigger disengagement from the family. They wanted to make room for the scenario that a capable future family member could have a chance of becoming the CEO. Although we don't encourage it, said Sammy. And the Owners' Council could, in that case, allow it with a 75% majority. Since not everyone would work in the family's core business, they wanted to create more opportunities for family members to get involved. They focused on developing more opportunities for owners to participate in governance activities, governing ownership, and running board training programs on governance. You could be a governing owner and be on the board or in the family foundation, or you could be a doctor and come to the family assembly and family retreat once a year, Jamie said. Now that they had determined a new vision statement for the business, Sammy and David hoped that this brainstorming session would help them come up with one for the family. And should they eventually combine the 2 vision statements to make one combined vision or keep them separate? This question was an analogy for the next 1,000 years of the Li family. How will they hold the family and the business together in balance? Was it the best way to last 1,000 years? How should they incorporate future generations, point to celebrating diversity and the individual as well as the collective, and create a system that reinforced this balance and could continuously adapt to changes? At the end of the day, or 1,000 years, whatever we do for society and for the world, as a family or as an organization, we have to be worthy of being around for 1,000 years, concluded David. The above is an example of how you can create long-term family legacy plan by setting flexible goals for your business for the benefit of all stakeholders. I know that a 1,000-year legacy plan is too far in the horizon for most business owners, so I will share with you a story about one of my clients in New York, a century-old business who decided to sell due to family conflicts, and how they went about it to secure a strategic corporate buyer to ensure a win-win situation for all parties involved. The business owner transition from the first to the second generation went very well because it was simple, from the great-grandfather to the grandfather. For the first 25 years, the business was small, but the business grew over time. When it came time to transition from the second to the third generation, things got difficult because there were 4 siblings, their families were involved, and they ended up with 4 different family silos. It is often easier to transition from the first to the second generation, but as families grow, often they could benefit from having experienced advisors providing them with good governance to manage family conflicts. This owner decided to sell her business due to family conflicts and profit margin reductions because of healthcare industry consolidation. Luckily, the business was successfully purchased at a competitive market value by a large corporation because it was a right strategic acquisition for the buyer. This is an example of how sometimes even the best family legacy plans get derailed due to family conflicts and industry consolidations. Nonetheless, it is imperative to continue to operate the business in a responsible manner, to minimize losses, and to create a win-win situation for all stakeholders. I hope that the ideas and stories shared in this chapter have inspired you to create your family business legacy plan with a clear vision and peace of mind.